idea is they slap you with a suit, and what they do is they bring you to court, and then they ask for a continuance, and then they bring you in and they ask for witness documents, and they call witnesses, and what they do is every time that you show up at court, your attorney charges you money, and then your attorney has to go do legal research, and then it costs money, and they just keep dragging it out until you financially give up. That's what this is about. And it can cost a lot of money. Well, we're not going to give up. I'm not giving up. And I hope you won't give up either. But you folks at Russell, you didn't give up, and that was great. And you didn't have to go very far before they caved. And that's when they understand that you're not going to quit, that you're going to stand up and say, this is the right thing to do, and this is what we're going to do. Then it makes a big difference. But you got to be out there, and you got to say, we're going to put our attorneys on the case. We're going to do those kinds of things. Sometimes we might have to do offensive litigation, but mostly I think probably it's going to be defensive litigation in our case. They're going to come after us for doing the right thing, which is amazing. I think of that. But we are going to need that kind of thing. One more thing that we're going to be working on much more. We are pouring through just mountains of documents that deal with accounting. And that's not our strong suit, certainly not mine. And we will need a forensic accountant associated with a law firm to do that kind of work for us. Because we don't think that, in fact, we know that the books aren't being kept right when they approve a budget without talking about it in November, and then or for the December meeting, and then in the January meeting they amend the budget because the budget was wrong, and they do that in a couple of minutes without any discussion or looking at it. Okay, so they're not paying any attention to what's going on. They're not doing their duty to be good commissioners. The judge isn't supervising it right. We're going to have to continue to fight. So we need money. We need money to do that. The attorneys aren't going to work for nothing. The accountant can't work for nothing. So I'm asking you to take one of these envelopes, and there's a form in there to fill out, and put a little bit of money in there, and take it home with you. Write a check if you want, and designate it however you want. There's two ways to donate. Donate regularly to our conservation activities, and also there's our legal issues fund right on the same paper. You designate, you choose what you want to do. That's what we're going to do with the legal issues money, is we're going to defend our interests. We're going to keep on pushing. Okay, now we're going to go over to the
Yeah, I wondered if Kathy or Ed or Shelley, since the three of you spearheaded this, could you describe the letter that was just posted on our website that really sums up a lot of the work that we've been doing recently? We call it Shelley's fiduciary duties letter.
Okay.
It doesn't have to have my name on it.
Yeah, while she's coming up there, thanks to the Russell people who have joined us today for the first time. Appreciate that, and hope you'll keep coming back. We share so many of the same interests. There you go.
Okay. So we just delivered a letter this week, I guess it was this week, to Judge Grendel, a 5-page letter that outlines all of our complaints, really, about the current county park commissioners. And they are fiduciaries, which means that appointed as commissioners of a public entity like the Park District, they really represent us, the people, and they have a duty to us, to the public, as fiduciaries, and there are a number of duties that fiduciaries have that they are violating. So I wish I had brought the letter with me and I could run through some of this stuff, but it is on the website. And in the context of what their public duty is to us, the letter lays out various things that they have done that violate those duties. Ed, throw an example at me. I'm blanking. Throw an example at me of things they've done.
Was the overpayment for the one park.
Right. The overpayment for the park, which we have already discussed. The fact that they, at their meetings, they have no discussion of anything before they vote.
Having the numbers not add up on the budget.
Right.
Approving a $7 million budget, one event meeting, which included the pledge, the reading of the charter, minutes of the meeting, etc.
And the fact that next budget that we were talking about was wrong.
Right. That was actually a monthly financial statement. It wasn't a budget, so.
Should be misuse of legal assets.
Yeah. And I had another thing in my head that just popped in and out, but
The appointment of a director without doing a true search for a director.
oh, look, I got the letter. Okay. Yeah, the other thing, okay, let's see. It's actually, the letter is divided into categories. So the first category is violations of their duty to manage accounts. So that's a lot of the budget and financial things that we were talking about. So approving that $11 million budget and the November financial statement. Approving every month they approve vouchers, which are for items that the Park District has already bought, that under their bylaws they're allowed to buy without commissioner approval, but commissioners are supposed to then look at what they're spending the money on and discuss if there's anything they have questions about, at least ask questions of the executive director, but they never make comments. They always approve those vouchers without ever asking any questions. And they don't have any plan for the future. No 5-year plan, no 10-year plan, no nothing future plan for the Park District. So the second category of violations is violation of the duty of care. So they have to take care in managing the assets and the operations of the Park District. And in that category is the appointment of an executive director without really conducting any kind of a search. And they don't really supervise the executive director either. He pretty much does what he wants, and if he needs them to vote on something, at the meetings, if you go, they make a motion, and when I say they, I mean the executive director states the motion, whatever it is he wants them to vote on, and then usually Jackie DeTore, who's the president of the board, will say, "So moved." She doesn't even repeat the words of the motion. She just says, "So moved." Is there any discussion? No. And then they vote. And that's it. So really, the executive director, John Oros, is running everything, and they don't supervise him at all. So let me see. The third category is violation of the duty of compliance, which means that they have to adhere to their own bylaws and regulations. And there have been any number of times that they don't, we've talked about how they don't comply with the state laws, but also in terms of their own regulations, they violated their own regulations. Snowmobiling is an example of that. Their regulations say no motorized vehicles of any kind, no snowmobiles, and yet they ignore their regulations and they start a snowmobiling program. And guns, yeah. 2 years in a row, Liberty Camp, which is a Tea Party-sponsored camp for children, has been in one of the parks, and they have demonstrations at the Liberty Camp meetings of what are they, like muskets, old-fashioned firearms, and their regulations say no firearms in the parks, with the exception of the rangers, of course. And when we brought this to their attention, that the regulations said that they couldn't have any firearms, and in fact, the regulations specifically talk about these kinds of old-fashioned firearms and say they're banned too. And we brought that to their attention, and so what happened was the judge actually came to a park board meeting and handed out commendations to everybody who ran Liberty Park Camp. And that, yes, one of those was Linda O'Brien, who's one of the commissioners in the Russell Park District. And so that was their response. They don't care what their own regulations say. They're doing their own thing. So the fourth violation is a violation of loyalty. So they should be serving us, the public, and the public interest should be first. And yet the commissioners seem to keep having these pet projects that they bring forward, and the park district